Good afternoon. My name is Michael Bowen. If you haven't met me already, one of the topics I want to talk about today is how do we protect investors? How do investors protect their own money, specifically when they're investing into property? And to help us with that, I've actually brought along Bruno Samau from Bruno Samau Attorneys. Now, just to give a bit of our background in relation to him, we've done conveyancing, we've done legal with him, we've done installment sale agreements, back to backs. He's given us advice on partnerships from the memorandum of incorporation. There's memorandum of understanding. We've done advice on evictions we've spoken about. We've done structures and setup, the whole course. So without further ado, Bruno, play hello and introduce
Oh,
yourself, please, and your
well,
company.
hi. Hi everyone. Hi Mike. Hi Jacques. It's good to be chatting to you guys again. So very brief introduction. So as you said, my name is Bruno. I wear two hats normally. On the one side, I am an attorney at Bruno Simao Attorneys. This specializes in the commercial space, especially when it comes to property. So we focus a lot on assisting property investors, property owners, anything from your evictions, conveyancing, putting contracts together, making deals work, deal making, that sort of thing. And that's typically where I pride myself on, is the deal making side of things. It's the negotiating, putting it together, and then just making sure that everyone walks out the door, making money effectively. Then my other hat is through Intergen. These two companies do complement each other. Intergen focuses also on planning, so I'm very much involved in the strategic space, but Intergen particularly likes the tax planning side of things, the structuring side of things. So here we start having conversations on what should a person's investment vehicles look like, their investment structure in total, what should be in there, how money should move around from one to the other, what sort of protections you need to look out for, all the way from level one, your personal capacity, all the way down to every single SPV that you use. And again, it ties back into Bruno Smart Attorneys, where we start speaking about partnerships and joint ventures and the like.
Nice. And I mean, I know you personally as well. This is nothing new for you. This has been going on for years. You've got quite a
Yeah.
complement of people working with you. I've dealt with Leonora, Alexa, Shilly Boy. I don't even know how else, but I'm pretty sure the breadth of your experience or collective experience was quite vast by now and quite a number of years as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been in the legal space since 2007, in the property space, almost exclusively in the commercial space from about 2008, 2009. And since then, properties have basically been my core focus within the commercial space.
So that's 15 years of experience. Basically, you
Yeah.
know your stuff, and we can attest
Yes.
to that as well. We can firmly
Yeah.
attest to that. So one of the things
Thank you.
I really want to get into, and like today's one is around investors. How do they protect themselves? And specifically, I want to talk about loan agreements. Why would an investor who's about to loan money, why would they need one? And how does it actually serve and protect that investor when he's going into a loan agreement deal to fund into a property investment deal? Could you elaborate on that, please?
Sure, no worries. So I suppose it's something, what merits or what's worthy of mention is there's two ways that people typically get into relationships together. Even if you call it what you want to call it, a stock file, a partnership, all of that is just basically a label for some kind of underlying structure, right? And the reality is when you go into this type of relationship, you either invest with some form of equity, so capital for equity. So that's a share. So a share in a partnership. Officially, it's not called a share, but you get the idea. You're involved. There's a contribution. You get something out of it. A share in a company. We all know what a share in a company is. A membership in some sort of association. This normally entails the taking of some form of risk. You're putting in money and you're taking a risk that you might not get this money back. The idea isn't to have the money repaid. It's to grow value in a business or an investment. And eventually, at some point, if you sell out of it, you've created some sort of asset of value. So your growth is dependent on that. So the equity versus debt conversation, the debt conversation is more guaranteed. In the debt conversation, you want your money back. You want some form of guarantee that you're going to get the money back plus whatever you want your profits to be. And that's normally in the form of interest. People either choose the less riskier option of getting their money back or the higher risk of actually investing in the business.
How many of these loan agreements ones have you actually done over the years? Is it common standard, or is it not really done?
No, it's thousands. It's thousands, hundreds, thousands of loan agreements. It just makes things easy.
Yeah, and so it is a fairly common, or more than just a common.
Yeah.
It's something we get asked a lot from people who always start off and they come to us and they kind of say to us, like, are these loan agreements standard? And my answer always is, yeah, it's pretty standard. 1,000, and you're confirming that as well. Investor point of view now, so they're actually going to be loaning more than 250,000 Rand to a juristic entity, and therefore they kind of fall outside of that National Credit Act. What is then the detriment to them that they fall outside? What does they lose by not being part of that National Credit Act?
So the lender doesn't necessarily lose much in themselves, because the reality is they're uninhibited. So they're basically just lending money. The normal rules of contract apply. So the National Credit Act, for the most part, doesn't favor the lender or give them any extra rights that they wouldn't normally have, versus the consumer who lacks the necessary protections. The consumer will be the one that wouldn't be able to apply for debt review, or wouldn't be able to rely on certain provisions in order to delay the payments, wouldn't be able to rely on it being reckless debt, that sort of thing. So yeah, the lender would be good.
Question. So what recourse will investors have if things go pear-shaped?
So investors, as in the person lending the money, the lender.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
You guys get it right at the beginning. You draft the contracts. Now, from a recourse perspective, it becomes a question of collection. And I mean, I suppose the intuition there is, if the business is making money, you'd be able to collect and issue a summons, for example, get a judgment against them and collect.
So as a personal investor, as I say, I want to lend my money to somebody, would you recommend trying to get shares into that company that you're going to be investing into and having the shares pay out at the end? Or would you recommend going down the loan agreement route if it's outside of if I'm lending more than 250,000? Which is the kind of options on those two?
Yeah. So the money back with interest carries that form of guarantee. So let's say you're lending money and a person uses it, but they've got some sort of asset within this company. So money back with interest, it's a great idea. You get your money back, you get interest with your money, you can sue for it. Something goes wrong, you can try to sell the property, provided that it's not overly bonded, because that's also another risk. So provided there's an actual asset that carries some form of liquidity, and that's not encumbered by anything else, it's the best security that you can get. Do a loan. Vet, obviously, prior.
Yeah, and the vetting comes in with a pretty standard kind of stuff. It's got to do with experience, it's got to do with education. You want to look at the combination of that, because at the end of the day, my way of looking at it with certain investors is, okay, if I'm investing to somebody and they're not going to pay my money back, I know that in this day and age that I can go the public route. And that's not the nicest of route to do, but it's a lot more damage to somebody's future of that business if they're not paying their investors back than compared to trying to go the legal route. Bruno, thank you so much for your time. I will be in touch in the future looking at installment sale agreements in one section and a back-to-back as well for those who are very interested in that section. And again, you guys do that as well. So I'm sure there'll be people in touch with you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Jacques.
Bruno.